So I was messing around with super cool like books and stuff the last couple of days, like kind of pushing it to its edge. And it was so funny because it absolutely 100% writes better than 99% of humans, especially something long. Like you got to literally be like a top writer in the world to be able to beat it. And in terms of speed, you're just not going to beat it. Like even the best writers in the world are not going to beat it. I will say this though. It doesn't, it can't match really extreme voices. Now, most of you, probably everyone in this chat doesn't have an extreme voice. Just no offense. Like you just don't because you have to, this is my point about mastery is like people that are absolutely the top in the world break rules all the time. All the time. Every musician that you love, every great writer that you know of, like they all essentially like invent a genre or invent a style. And by doing what that means is they're taking the conventional things, they're reaching mastery of those conventional things, then they're reaching mastery within a genre or a subgenre of that thing, and then they're taking it beyond what anyone else literally in the world is doing and creating a brand new thing, which by definition is breaking the rules. Does that make sense?
It's funny, man. Like I was literally having almost this identical thought yesterday because I was listening to I love my hip hop and I'm a huge like Eminem fan and I've been listening to this kid called Token, which I didn't realize he's been around for 6 or 7 years. And I was explaining to my wife the complexity of some of the raps and the levels that he does. It just can't be imitated through AI. It's the same thing with
Yeah.
extreme people, extreme voices. Same with in any artistic endeavor, you've got those extremities that AI just simply can't do. And maybe
So,
maybe we'll never be able to, you know.
well, let me give you an example, okay? So this is going to be advanced, guys. I'm going to give you, and I'm going to use writing, but apply it to whatever you're doing, okay? So one thing that super cool is really good at is it can notice patterns. So if you give it this guy token or what's his name?
Token, yeah.
Token, you give him token, the lyrics, and ask Supercool to give you a deconstruction, like a critic of what he's doing and how he's doing it, and like what are the patterns that make him unique. It will give you something that you're like, oh my God, yes, that's right. He does, stressed, unstressed, blah, blah. Then he does this and parasymbolic, da, 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 whatever. It's going to give you this beautiful deconstruction. And if you give the most crazy poetry or like jazz stuff for writing style, like Kerouac, it's kind of you just read Kerouac. He kind of just goes. And this was specifically, he was obsessed with jazz, so you can almost feel it in the way that he writes.
Mhm.
And you can't, AI is not going to be able to do that. It's just not. It's not going to do that. Like write this in the style of Kerouac. It's not even going to be close. Okay. But if you say, give me a deconstruction of the style of how he did it, it will give you beautiful explanation. It will give you examples. It will be like, for example, this paragraph does da da da, and then automatically da da da, which is similar to this writer. But then it's like as a critic, as a pattern recognizer, it's very good. But then if you're going to take something to a new place, it's not going to be able to do it. And the reason why, okay, is that AI is pattern matching. So it's trained on everything that ever, think about this. This is literally, it's trained on everything that's ever been done. Okay. And the more information about it, the better it's going to be. So, for example, if you ask it to give you a summary of a book that came out yesterday, the summary is going to be pretty bad. Just letting you know. Okay. Even if it reads the whole book and then tries to summarize it, it's still going to be kind of bad because its ability to understand the patterns behind what it's saying is not hyperlinked. Think about this. You guys know what hyperlinking is? Like when something like Wikipedia is like the most hyperlinked thing. It's like, you know, every fourth word in Wikipedia is like linking to another Wikipedia page. It's like this crazy self-referential thing. So if you say, give me an essay, about the Great Gatsby, it'll crush it because it's not referencing the Great Gatsby. It's referencing everything that's ever been written about the Great Gatsby. Does that make sense? And and everything that's connected to everything that's ever been written about the great. So the number of hyperlinks, the number of like educational nodes that SuperCool and AI has, the LLM has, in order to write something really complex and deep about something, the more hyperlinks it has, better it's going to be. Whereas if a book came out yesterday, it doesn't have a lot of data. So it's going to read it and be like, well, this is what I think it's about. But it's like, yeah, but what does it mean? And blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, nothing's been really written about it. There aren't any other summaries about it. There aren't podcasts about it yet. There aren't, so it has too little data. Does that make any sense? And when you are giving it something that's brand new, okay, like your song or your video or your writing or whatever it may be, and then you're also asking it to stylistically do something in a way that has never been done before because you're so unique. It has no data to to build off of. Does that make sense? I know this is kind of a long meandering argument, but my point is I'm giving you the why behind why it can't do something that's like way, way out on the frontier because it doesn't have enough reference data. And if you try to another thing that it's doing is it's not understanding the way that certain metaphors or language or especially poetry or music or something, it's not understanding how little things connect emotionally to us, which is another layer, by the way. This is another layer of patterns that the LLMs are working on, but they're not really trained in that way yet. So they're trained in all of the data and all of the reference material and all the patterns, but it's another layer of how does that make a human feel? Does that make sense? It's like the and adding that layer of complexity they haven't been trained on because they don't really understand it. We don't even understand our own emotions. So to be able to pattern match, oh, when this happens in this way relative to these seven chapters eventually crescendoing into da 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 da, like we intuitively understand that, which is why on the edge, a human is still better. But it's only if you're a master. If you're not a master, you're not going to even see it. You're just going to be like, oh yeah, this is amazing. So that's a little meta lesson is like the more hyper specific, the better you are at the thing, the more you're going to notice where AI has a gap. Whereas if you're not a master of the thing, it's better than anything you'll ever do and just use it. It's like, does that make sense? Like, Terry using AI writing is probably easier for him to use it than me because I'm more picky about my voice. Whereas me making an album, I could probably make one that I'm super happy with today, and Terry's not going to be happy with it because he knows music in a way that I don't understand. Is that fair?
Yeah, it makes sense, man.
Alphonsus. That's a cool name. Alphonsus. Is that like Greek? Alphonsus? But then McCaffrey is like Irish. You got an interesting name, man. Sky Hacker is also Sky Hacker sounds like a video game.
We know Sky Hacker. I don't think never likes her name being said. We work with Sky Hacker. It begins with
Oh,
S.
oh yeah, yeah,
One of
yeah,
our
yeah.
clients.
Yeah, yeah. I love the it's like it's like a such it's like kind of a futuristic. It's got a very like emotive name.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's an interesting little lesson. Let me talk about something that we're working on and with SuperCool. So you probably have seen this, but like give me photorealistic image of a cat at sunset on the beach.
Yeah, the photo. On my onboarding yesterday, I did some hyper realistic stuff and it was mind blowing.
Yeah. Oh, we've added this like little, I'm sure you guys have all used it, but yeah, okay. Add a red hat on it. Well, this is something new where you can take the image and then add something to it. Yeah, there you go. So it took the image, kept this image the same, and then added a red hat. So this is a new feature where you can keep the image and not create a new image. Does that make sense? And then another feature here, if you guys have noticed this, it's called edit. So if you click on edit, there's you're going to start seeing ways to kind of mess with it a little bit. You see? So we're building these like an app layer on top of the apps. Okay. So this gives you kind of a modification, decorate. Yeah, I mean, whatever you can kind of, you see where this is going? And of course, we're going to eventually have basically kind of like a Canva on top of this. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? And it'll save the new image as well as the old image. AI modify. This is again going to be another sort of like the sunset blue. So we are adding an app layer, okay, on top of SuperCool. Meaning that if you're doing books or long documents, there's going to be a user interface that will pop up for books and long documents. If you're doing regular ChatGPT style stuff where you're just talking to it, then it'll just do that. If you're doing deep research and perplexity, there's going to be like an app within the app that does more deep researching and links and that sort of thing. Music, we're building a music application on top of it where you can change the bass only or change the lyrics only or keep the hi-hat, but I don't know. I'm just you can see what I'm, saying. It's a bunch of garbage, but whatever. If you're a musician, you'll know what I'm trying to say. Pull out, download the stems where it's like every instrument is separated and you can like download each individual instrument. You can, EQ it or push a button and master it or whatever, like all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna have a music application on top of SuperCool. Same thing with videos. You're gonna have a video editor on top of, so you have a baseline video, but then you can use the editor to get more advanced. Images, I kind of already showed it to you. It's a very primitive version of what it will be, but you guys get kind of the idea. And then, combinations of all of the above in various ways. And I'm sure there's a million things that I'm not even thinking of. But the idea is that you'll have SuperCool kind of on the back here. And then if you click on something, the app within the app will pop up. And then you can make modifications or changes to the thing that you're working on. Okay. And that's going to be kind of interesting. So we're going to kind of attack from a business perspective, we're attacking all of these different use cases, okay? which means that we're going to get better and better and better at each one of these use cases. Because what we're finding is a lot of people are coming in for different reasons. Some people come in for books, some people come in for marketing, some people come in for messing around because they like it better than ChatGPT. Some people like it for creativity. Some people like it for a very specific business use case, whatever. Does that make sense? And so we're building all of these applications on top of SuperCool. And the lesson here, this is like just good for you to know and kind of play around with. But I think the lesson for you guys here is that you have a problem if you're in business, right? For whom, which is like your avatar. And then you have your solution and you have like unique solution. That's pretty much all business, right? I've said this a million times. But the truth is that there are different features, right? Or another way to think about this is like a sub problem. Does that make sense? Like let's say someone has, I don't know, like let's say you build like a diet app or something, right? So one way to think about it is like, oh, I'm going to have like a vegan diet app. Another way to think about it is, no, just have a diet app, but then depending on the toggle they have, or depending on the button that they press or the onboarding quiz that they take, the application can be used for more hyper specific, like sub problems or sub avatars. Does that make sense? So, we have people that use Famous just for websites, and we have people that just use Famous for mock-ups of user interfaces, and then they switch to their own code. And then we have people that build it all together, and we have people that do everything in between, right? And could we build Famous in the way that's like this is, fitnessappbuilder.com or whatever, and all it does is just build fitness apps? Like, yeah, we could do that. But as you're going more, as you're going broader, wider, more meta, you can think about this in terms of your feature stack as building sub features within your overall business. Does that make sense? So like let's say you have a marketing agency. Well, you can have a whole world where all you just do is like meta ads. But then you can have another part of your company that does social media. And then you have another part of your company that does consulting, right? So it's kind of the same thing. It's like the lesson here, what I'm trying to say is that yeah, you're going to start somewhere with your MVP, with whatever your business is. It's like, this is what I do. But don't be afraid to expand. And then as you expand, get more creative and more specific with whatever you do. Does that make sense? Like, let's say you're starting a book writing agency. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to do, I ghostwrite business books. Well, you can obviously use SuperCool to do that in like 3 seconds. But you can say, well, it's interesting you say that, but like now I also do science fiction. Right? And then it's like, oh, I actually also do like lead magnets. Oh, I actually also do coloring books for children. Oh, I actually do comic books. And as you're expanding whatever you're doing, don't be afraid to kind of, go into these sub niches. And that's what we're doing because we have a lot of people that are in super cool for so many different reasons. Does that make sense? Is everyone kind of following that?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
And we got end of the year energy in the chat.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We can. I just wanted to come on and honestly just like check off the box and say hi, Happy New Year, or whatever. And I had this kind of mini lesson that I wanted to. The big idea is, guys, what's hilarious, guys? If you this looks funny, right? But also, if you saw this like at like the MoMA, would you be that surprised?
No, not at all. I've
I
been to
wouldn't
the
be
MoMA.
surprised at all.
I've seen some weird shit in there.
Yeah, like you go to the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art, like any Museum of Modern Art, honestly. New York is so pretentious, they just call it the MoMA. But like, the any modern art museum and anywhere in the world, like this would be if this was really big, you want to know secret of art, guys? If you want to make the thing look like cooler than it is, just print it out really big. Just print it out so that it like takes up the whole wall, and all of a sudden it like has this energy of like this high art. But anyways, the big idea here is you can modify at a much more extreme level. So if you get something that you like, you can start you can start modifying it because this is a brand new thing with AI, by the way. Like you used to have to regenerate a whole new thing. Like this was Mid-Journey there. Everyone was like excited about Mid-Journey like 2 years ago. And then they'd be like, yeah, it's like that, but I just want it to be a little bit, or I want this to, and it's like you can't do that. Well, now you can. And so, we have this, then we say, okay, we want it to be a hat. We want to change the filter, and we also want to add this red square, and we want to add a border. And then, okay, now we want to make it blue. And it's kept the same image. Okay. So that's a new thing. How did we do that? Well, we're building these apps on top of the SuperCool. So you'll notice that we'll be coming out with them, probably week by week, month by month. So, stay up to date with that. You just click this button and they'll get better, obviously, over time. And then the lesson for you as a business owner is we took the feedback and we're noticing the patterns of our own users and realizing that we have super users in all these different categories. And so we're catering to all of it's like the Pareto Principle of the 80-20 rule, you know that? So, we're catering to each individual person or each individual category. Does that make sense? And so you can do the same thing with your business. It's like you can categorize by class, or you can categorize by feature, or you can categorize by problem, but don't be afraid to do that. So I think that's really all I wanted to say today.